Welcome to my Under the Sea project. Grab your paints and get ready to have some fun. All I could see while looking at this project was pirate ship vibes. So let's get a little wild and wacky with some paint and take this piece to the next level. Today's video is going to show you from step 1 to done, so make sure you stay to the very end to see this amazing project.
Well, hello, Top Drawer RVA fans. How are you today? It is Wednesday, it is 3 p.m., and we are here to sit on the floor and play with some paint and talk about all things Terra today. So if you were following my page, you saw me post this chest yesterday. So I dragged this in actually about a month ago. It was going to be a custom order for somebody, but they changed their mind. So since it was in my space already, I decided to work with what we got. So I brought it over here and I cleaned it up. This is copper hardware and it does not come off. If I take this off, I will ruin the hardware. This cedar chest is a Lane cedar chest. It is pristine and clean inside. It's got all of the labels and everything in there. And before we begin, I wanted to share one thing with you about a Lane cedar chest or any cedar chest in general. So you need to remove the interior lock. It's a safety hazard to resell, which is what I do with most of my items. I resell them. It's a safety hazard to resell anything that could be locked or trap a person inside. My dog's sitting on the floor. Are you scared of the chest? It won't hurt you. You'll be fine. So I have removed the lock. What I'll do is actually put it in a Ziploc bag and staple it to the interior of the piece. That way, when somebody purchases this, if they want to, fix the lock or call Lane, I know that they will send you a replacement lock for a chest, and it is then able to access from the inside, so you can't actually lock anybody in. So let's talk. This chest, when I look at it, tells me like pirate ship. Does it look like a pirate ship chest to you? What about you, Stella? So I see something a little bit fun and funky. And if you know me as an artist at all, you know that I am very rarely a one-color boring painter. I like to paint a ton of stuff. And I like to hand paint. I like to do designs that are a little bit out of the norm. And when I looked at this chest and I asked everybody yesterday, what would you do? Safe and serene or wild and wacky? You know I'm gonna go wild and wacky. Why would we be boring over here? We're not gonna be boring. So clean the chest and painted a base coat of actually Anchor in silk mineral paint, only because I always put a black coat of paint when I use Terra Clay Paint, because the paint that we're going to be using today is water, reactivated by water, and I'm going to be mashing it and creating a very under the sea vibe. And if any of the wood shows through when I pull it back, I want the wood to be dark. So it's just kind of like a slapdash coat of paint. It's not perfect. You can see I've just really put it on to get it on the piece. So what that's going to do is give me a base coat for my pulling off the next part of my paint and showing what's underneath. So let's talk about it. What are we going to do today? Well, we are going to paint this chest in a under the sea vibe, and it's going to be murky waters, blue, very ocean, very grungy, possibly adding patina, but not today. And then after it all gets dry, I'm going to hand paint a giant octopus on the front of it. Why? Why am I painting a giant octopus on the front of it? Because why not? I only want to paint things that are fun. I don't want to do boring things anymore. And yeah, and as wild as wacky it's going to be, and blue and wild and under the sea, there's going to be a huge kraken octopus with giant tendrils and legs coming up and around, and possibly If it goes over top of any of this copper, I might actually get out the molding clay and create his arm, like his octopus leg, coming around the actual copper. Is it going to be over the top? Yes. Is it going to be wild and fun? Yes. Am I going to love every single minute of it? Yeah, of course. And it's the internet, so we know that people are going to lose their minds because I'm painting a cedar chest, even though this chest has big missing scratches, huge stains on the top, and is entirely outdated. People like to complain a lot. So I cleaned it with White Lightning or Terra Clean. After I did that, I did put on one coat of black, just so that when I do put on my Terra paint, I can have a nice base underneath. It's just something I like to do. And now let's learn about Terra Clay Paint. Okay, so Dixie Belle has 3 paint lines, right? We have the OG, regular chalk mineral paint, available in a billion colors. Any color you want, you're gonna get it. Then we also have the Silk all-in-one mineral paint, which has a built-in top coat and a built-in primer. Last time I checked, I think there was 60-something colors of silk. I can't remember. But there's a lot of silk paint, and this is fantastic if you are a one-color painter and you just want to get your paint on and get a beautiful shining piece, because you don't need a top coat over top of this paint, and you don't need to prime either. You just need to clean really well and scuff sand. Now, this is Dixie Belle's newest, like within the past 3 years or so, paint called Terra Clay Paint. There's not enough people using this paint. I'm going to tell you right now, if you have not tried Terra Clay Paint, you are missing out, because this paint makes your kind of heavy textured, grungy, blended looks look amazing. It's so easy. I'm going to show you how it works today. We're going to paint the front of this chest. It is available in 18 beautiful colors. You can see them right here. Today we're going to be using all of the blues: London Blue, Galaxy, Onyx, which is the black, possibly a little pistachio. I even brought out the purple, which is elderberry. Okay, so we're gonna jump in. Let's open up everything, sit on the floor, and play with paint. As always, I do a lot of talking. Surprise, I talk a lot. And I might not see your question as it rolls by the screen, but if you drop it in, I will reread, or feel free to send me a DM. It's just me and my little phone. I don't have a VA, I just have me and myself and I like to answer every single question I get. I'm happy to help. Okay, so a couple of these are fresh and haven't been opened. I'm going to show you the difference between one that's not been opened and one that's been opened, because there is a difference. Okay, so this one's new. Let's open this new one. Which one is this? Is this Onyx? Oh, I don't need to open a new one. If I open it, it's okay. I'll show you this one. I have 2 Onyx on the floor. Onyx is the black, and I use this the most, but I wanted to show you how its consistency varies a little bit versus when it sits in the jar for a long time. So this color right here is called Blue Agave. Agave? I don't care. It's blue. It's really pretty, and I always say words wrong. So inside Terra Clay Paint, it's a lot thicker. When you paint with this paint, you are going to use a natural fiber brush. You are definitely getting brush strokes, but that's okay, because the motion that I use to actually paint this on is a stabbing motion of pushing the paint on, creating little peaks and valleys on my work in order to actually get a textured design that I love. You can seal your Dixie Belle's Terra Clay Paint in Terra Tough, which is kind of like Gatorhide, or the matte finish one. Now, that was one that's freshly opened. This one, open, not a good lid saver. See that in there? So it's actually still okay. You can still totally use it like this. See how chunky it is? If you're using a stencil or something where you're pushing the paint through, this is perfect. This is really great texture. This is also really great texture for what I'm doing. And all of this paint can be reactivated with a little bit of water. So if I wanted to put a little water in here and mush it around, it would come back to life, easy peasy. To be honest, I think that out of all the colors, this one won't be used very much, because I don't want a bright and happy ocean. I want a dark, murky, kind of spooky ocean, because of course, why would it be anything but that? All right, so I'm gonna open up all of these colors on the floor, and I'm gonna grab my natural fiber brushes. The brushes that work best with Terra are the brushes that are this natural fiber. This is called a French tip. This is a regular premium chip brush. This is a very well-loved French tip. You can see how it kind of makes its way from the shape of a point to this rounded surface. When I apply my paint, I like to literally push it on like this, versus painting it on like this. So it gets stabbed onto my project, all right? And it is very easily blendable, and I like to blend it most likely on the second coat. So all of this talking, let's get to work. On the floor is a puppy dog sitting right here. You being a love. We've had many, many days of snow days here in Virginia, and my dog has gotten very used to the fact that I've never left the house in 2 weeks. So she's going to be our partner in crime today. All right, so here's my piece, right? Oh, and there's my elderberry, which I probably won't use, but we'll keep it over here anyways. I've got my water, I've got my brushes, I've got a heat gun in case this section needs to get dry, because when I build up those layers, I like to really pounce that paint on, and sometimes I need a section more dry than others, all right? So I want to actually put this lid up because I want to get right up to the edge. So let me just shove that in there and I hope it doesn't fall down. This little chest is actually on wheels, wood wheels. They're not 100% even. It's a little wobbly. Do you think I should leave the wood wheels on this piece to give it the height? Or do you think I should remove them so that it's no longer wobbly? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear. All right, so we're going to start out with a darker color. I'm actually going to dip into the black Onyx, only because I want black around the edges. Does anybody know the answer as to why I did not tape off my copper? You get to win a gold star if you know the answer. Why do you think I'm just going to paint in and around this copper without taping it off? Anybody? Anybody? I have a method behind the madness. And the method is the fact that this is water soluble paint. This water will reactivate the paint so easy. All I need to do is take a wet cloth and I can easily pull it right off. It'll come right off this piece, no problem. Let's bring you in a little closer. Watch out for the dog on the floor. So I'm just gonna mash up in between a couple of different colors. In between London Blue, the black, which is the black Onyx, and let's get in really close to this edge so that I can know that my edges are covered. When I do come in later, I can easily wipe off the paint that gets on my copper because it comes off super easy with a damp cloth, which is why you have to seal your Terra Clay paint, because if I painted this and then walked away, this would actually be able to get reactivated very easily without sealing it. So you have to seal your work. So I don't mind painting over top of all of these little nooks and crannies. Okay, so let's focus on this section. When Terra Clay paint gets dry, you're going to notice that this paint will change color. Right now, it looks very dark, okay? It looks dark, it looks a little spooky, but don't worry, it will lighten up. And remember that on the front of this chest, I'm going to cover this entire front of this chest in a giant octopus. I sometimes I wonder if somebody tunes into these videos like midway and they've never watched me before and they see me, number one, painting like this, and number two, just doing weird things like this and adding octopus to the front of my furniture. They might be like, she's lost her ever loving mind. Nope, I don't. I didn't. I promise. I know what I'm doing. I just have a method behind the madness, and it takes multiple steps to get to the part where the fun happens. So I went online today and I looked for an octopus, number one, that looked a little scary, because I don't want a sweet little happy cartoon octopus. I want an octopus that's spooky. So I found one, and he's red and he has like evil eyes, and his arms come up. His 8 arms come up and around. So his head is going to be here, and his arms are going to trail out and up onto the top of the chest. And if you're wondering, is anything ever too wild? Is there somebody out there that's going to buy your spooky chest? Can I tell you, the more wild I get, the more crazy I paint, the faster it sells. I mean, I don't know how else to tell you. There's sometimes I actually think nobody will ever buy this because it is much too crazy. And those are the first items that sell. So never say never. there's always going to be somebody who wants to buy the wild and wacky stuff because maybe their house is already wild and wacky and they would have an ocean themed room where maybe this is a boys room and it will be fantastic. So, okay, so now I'm just tapping on that color. You can see how fast and easy it blends. The lighter color that I'm using is called blue, say it for me, agave, right? Right? I know that I probably say it wrong, but it's the Canadian in me. I think once I actually get this base coat on, what I'll end up doing is coming in and actually adding some patina that will come down and rust off of all of this. Because I feel like the blue, even though the blue, we're gonna get all oceany in here and it's gonna be fantastic, I feel like the blue is still gonna need some more layers. So look how fast these colors blend. This is a great background for florals, for any kind of hand painting you're doing. You can really see that if there was a beautiful octopus on the front of this piece, how cool he would look sitting on top of this murky water. And if I wanted to actually take my cloth and damp my cloth and add some of the wood that's underneath, I could easily do that with a wet cloth. All I need to do is dampen a rag and rub it, or use a light grit sandpaper, and it'll come right back up and pull that paint off. But my goal right now is under the sea, just by tapping on multiple colors of Terra Clay Paint. Let's see if we can get at least this section done so that you get you a better idea of how it's gonna look. Can you see how the murkiness is there? And it looks a little bit like a pond. Let's add in a touch of green and see what happens. I've got this fantastic green, which is actually pistachio. It might be just enough to break up some of the blue a little bit. Not all green, but just a little bit of green rather than all blue, if that makes sense. It's just gonna change the tone. On its own, this green is super vibrant. It's the most vibrant Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle green ever. But when you mix it in with the other blues, it looks really, really good for breaking up some of that darkness. So we're just gonna layer it in there. This is also a really good arm workout, pushing, pushing the paint off, pulling it off. So, thoughts, anybody? Any questions? Go ahead and put them in the comments below. I'd love to hear. Better yet, have you painted an octopus on furniture? I'd like to hear about that. Tell me. Tell me your octopus story. I know I've taken away the ability for people to be able to drop photos on my Facebook page because some people like to ruin it for everybody and put inappropriate things on people's pages, and I'm not a fan of anything inappropriate on my pages. So I took away the ability to post photos. But you can still tell me or send me a DM with your really cool octopus painting. I'd love to see. Okay, so can we see how this is happening? So what I'm also probably gonna do is take this blue once it's dry and possibly even drip black down the top so that it ends up looking a little bit more aged. But I thought that this piece needed some fun. Okay, so do you think that this blue is too dark for the vibe I'm going for? Should I not be so melancholy and actually lighten it up a little bit? Maybe I'll do this other half a little bit lighter. I'll add a little bit more of the blue, lighter blue here. Because if it really was an ocean, it wouldn't be all one color of blue, right? It would be multiple colors of blue. Still, you coming back in? How's everybody hanging out in this terribly cold weather? We're not used to snow here in Richmond, Virginia, and we have had snow, which is fine, but we've had so much ice. School has been canceled since there was no school last week. There's been no school so far this week. We're still waiting on to hear tomorrow if tomorrow is going to be a school day or another day off. But my daughter, I feel like she never goes to school anymore. She just she just stays home. I should put her to work painting the chest. Can you see how fast and easy these colors blend? So easy. Okay, I'm gonna wet them a little bit because that blue, it's just too light. I don't like that light blue. And I'm gonna go back into the darkest one, which is the Galaxy. I like the Galaxy, probably the best out of all of the blues. Doesn't it look a little like Monet-ish? It's a nice look. If you've seen the florals that I've done with the big Terra flowers on them in pink and the bougainvillea, it's really great background. Can you see how it gives you that depth and those layers? Especially when it's wet, all of this blue will come back to life. When I seal it, it does lighten so much when it's wet, or sorry, when it's dry. And then when it's wet, you really see that tone. See how easy those colors just push together? Anybody could do this. Literally, like I almost feel like I should do a paint class with the blindfold on, because that's how fast and easy Terra gets blended. Anybody can stab paint on like this. It does not take any wild talent to get this base, but it always looks so good. I'm loving this section right here. So I can see the octopus in red. The reason I chose red is because I want a contrasting color with the blue. I really want the octopus to stand out. So is he going to be kind of scary and lifelike? Yes, but his color red, I shouldn't say that. Is there red octopus? Octopi? I don't know the word. There's got to be some sort of a red octopus out there, because so many of the actual pictures I looked at were a shade of red, but he's going to be a little bit more vibrant. He's going to be not exactly true to life in color, because I do want to add in some red on this piece. Red and blue, there's a handy tip for you. The tip of the day is, if you want to grab some high contrast looks on your furniture, choose colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel, and you'll be able to get a really great looking contrast. How cool is that? That looks really spooky. This looks too dark. I feel like this is just not enough detail, so let's go back in and add some of that blue with a touch of that green. The green was the thing that made that difference, I think. The green just made it look a little bit more authentic. And I can show you right now, actually, with this dried paint that's on here, how fast this comes off when you dampen it. So you just use a spray mixing bottle with water or a baby wipe. Look at that. So I can pull all of that paint right off. It's easier for me to rub it off than it is for me to tape it all off. But because this paint is reactivated by water, you're able to do that. So you can do the same thing up here. Like say I wanted to drag this back and show some of the black underneath. You just need to rub it, and the black and the wood is gonna come through, which I will probably do a little bit just to make it look that much more distressed around the edges, because we are doing a little bit of like a pirate ship vibe. So wet distressing just means rubbing with a damp cloth until you reveal what's underneath, which is the black. And then if I rub even harder, I'm gonna get some of that wood left, which is perfect. But we're definitely gonna add patina to this piece. I think it's just gonna be so much fun. Let's start to spray some of this as I put it down to get some drips. And yes, it's gonna drip on my floor. This is a fake floor. and it's actually already really, really stained full of paint. I need a new one. I'm probably gonna get it tomorrow. So it's okay if I ruin the floor with paint drips. That's normal. That's what we do. So by spraying it, some of these runs are gonna come down and make it a little bit more, even more under the sea-ish. It's got these little circles over here. I thought about like doing, somebody's thought it'd be a good idea if I did like portholes like on a boat, but I really want that octopus to be the main attraction on this piece. So even though that was a fantastic idea, thank you to whoever suggested it, it's not going to happen just because I really want to have him be the star of the show. And don't worry, I am going to film all of this, which means that if you tune in on my YouTube channel at the Top Drawer RVA, at a later date, the whole entire video will be up there, including the parts where I paint my giant Kraken. So what do you think so far? Anybody else hanging out and loving this vibe, or are you like thinking it's too much? That's okay, you know, different strokes for different folks. That's the way it has to be. You can't have everybody be all the same all the time, because wouldn't life be boring? But I do like the ability to really stab on my paint versus painting on my paint to get the texture, to be able to keep it looking fluid. Now that this piece is drying over here, the part that I thought was too light is turning out to kind of be my most favorite bit. I think I'm going to have to add some in there. Some coral in the circles, that would be cool. So like, if I did, like make them like windows, just coral, or just put like paint the coral on. I was thinking like I could add other sea creatures, like a starfish or something, but they almost feel like they might be too cheery for the scary octopus that I'm gonna put on here. Like, by scary, I mean looks a little evil. I don't want to scare the small children. Because honestly, this would probably go in like a kid's room, like as a toy box or something, is what I envision it as. And if it's too scary, nobody's gonna want to put it and scare their children, but I like spooky. I can't help it. It's what I like. Spooky usually equals interesting and moody to me. That's why my farm scenes always have like crows or kind of like dark skies. Again, just tapping that color on. And if your brush sheds, it's totally okay. Wait till it's dry, and once it's dry, all you need to do is rub the area where those little hairs are, and they just pop right off. They're not stuck on there forever. They're just, that's like the natural fiber way. It just always happens that way, where things get a little bit damaged, because I am just literally pushing this color on and painting it on. The brushes always shed a little bit. Okay, so I've got that lighter color. I'm gonna grab, this brush doesn't have any paint on it. Before I spray it, I'm just gonna blend those edges out a little bit. That's how easy Terra Clay Paint is. Literally tapping on your paint gives you a whole vibe. I feel like there should probably be a little bit more green over here just to balance this part. And honestly, this is just the first layer. It might change a lot more the next time you see it. Because I tend to build up my layers with Terra. Perfect. What are we thinking? Under the sea enough for you? Let's finish this one more section over here. Like I said, this is on wheels. I can give it a pull. Squeaky. Squeaky little suckers. I need to oil those. Do you know on the inside of this, when I was opening and closing the lid before, it was very screechy. It was very, every time I opened the lid, it was like screaming at me. I just used some Big Mama's butter in there to lubricate the area where the lid kind of has a hinge. It worked like a charm. I had no idea the Big Mama's butter could be so helpful for a squeaky piece. It worked really good. I think because it's such an oil base, it just worked perfect. I mean, WD-40 would be better, but I had no patience to try and go look for that. It was in the cold shed, the WD-40, and the little amount that I have to go outside, the better in this snow. Makes me want to move to Florida. It didn't. When I moved to Virginia, people were like, it never snows in Virginia. The first winter we were here, we had like a record-breaking snowstorm. It was insane. And the only reason my kids actually traveled that Christmas was because my parents were visiting from Canada and they had snow tires. Because nobody else was going anywhere. They were the only ones on the road. But yeah, that was a lie. It does snow in Virginia. And when you get snow and ice, you get school canceled for multiple weeks in a row. I can drive in the snow. The problem is we don't have snow tires on any of our vehicles here. So it puts you in a position of slip sliding all over the road. I'm actually really liking this color. This Lanny's Lagoon is just offering me the perfect amount of lighter blue to really break up the dark. I think it would be too dark otherwise. The Lanny's Lagoon is actually giving me ocean wave vibes. Perfect, perfect. Okay, so now you can see the drips and the run. I'm going to show you with my heat gun what this looks like wet and in the depth versus what it looks like when it's dry. You see how fast it dries? That doesn't even look like the same piece now. Like, it looks super light. I'm not the biggest fan of the light, but I know that when I seal this, watch, I'll show you. When I seal it with a clear coat, it's gonna go back to this dark color, which is exactly what I want. So, if you've never tried Terra Clay Paint before, what are you waiting for? It's so much fun. I'm going to just sit on the floor now and keep painting my ocean vibes. Stay tuned for my giant octopus. It's going to be fantastic.
I have a couple of little tips for you when using patina paint. Make sure that you shake your can really well because this paint contains actual metal inside and it will settle to the base of the can. So either store it upside down and shake it really well to make sure that that metal is evenly dispersed. I only add the patina paint where I want the actual rust to occur. The color I'm using currently is called iron. This iron will go down in a gray fashion that you see here on the screen, and then when sprayed with the patina spray, it will actually rust to a deep rusty, kind of a reddy orange color. After the iron and the copper colors have gone down, you're going to spray this very liberally. This paint needs to be sopping wet in order to patina, rust, and crust. And remember, it will take a little while for this effect to happen. You're going to have to sit and hold your horses. After my patina paint has dried and given me my rust and crust, I did come in to add a little bit more wax to the details, making sure to add some depth to this octopus and some little bits of copper to the edges.